Harry Potter is one of the biggest franchises of all time. With 7 books, 8 films, multiple spin-offs, and now a HBO TV series, it really is one of the biggest IPs ever. But I think there is one book which changed everything. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I'm a massive fan of Harry Potter. I've listened to every book almost 15 times, so I know them really, really well. Now, every book in the original 7-book series is important, of course. You couldn't really take one out and the story worked the same way. However, I do think there is one book that really changed how the franchise worked from the get-go. Before they even started making films, I think this one book really changed how the series evolved as a story. So which book am I talking about? Could it be the first one? The one that started it all, built the world, introduced our main characters and main villain? Or what about the 4th book, where we got introduced to Death Eaters, unforgivable curses, and finally Voldemort in his proper final form? Or maybe it's the 6th book, where we really get a look at Harry and Dumbledore's relationship, and we delve into Voldemort's past so that he's more than just an evil Snape dude, he's an actual character. Or is it the last one, where we finally get the twist of who Snape really is? We see a darker side to Dumbledore, and Harry not only winning against Voldemort, but also grow up and start a family. The truth is, all these books are important, but it's not the one I'm talking about. The one that I'm going to talk about today is The Prisoner of Azkaban. On the surface, this might seem like an odd choice. It's the only book in the entire 7-book series that doesn't feature Voldemort. He's not a memory, he's not a flashback, and he's not even sticking out the back of someone's head. But it's actually precisely this reason why I think it might be the most important book. To explore this, we need to go back a little bit. So the first 2 books follow a very, very similar structure. In fact, all of them do. J.K. Rowling used the UK academic year as a framework for the plots of all the Harry Potter books. This is why Voldemort is usually very kind and only attacks Harry in June, so that he can at least get some education. But the first 2 books are very, very similar. That Harry goes to Hogwarts, there's a mystery involved, and it's some version of Voldemort at the bottom of it. But The Prisoner of Azkaban does something very different. Instead of Harry overcoming Voldemort in the final act, the whole book is about Harry finding out about his past. He learns who Sirius, Lupin, and Wormtail, Peter Pettigrew, really are, and way more about who his father was. He also learns about the fundamental relationship between Snape and his dad, which obviously gets expanded further in the Order of the Phoenix. Wormtail actually escapes, which leads nicely into the next book, which obviously results in Voldemort's return. So why does this matter? So the first 2 books did build a lot. Obviously, you have the core stuff in the first book. The second book actually built some really fundamental ideas about the pure blood prejudice, which is the essential motivation of Voldemort and the Death Eaters towards the end of the books. But the stories in both of those books feels like they kind of reset. If J.K. Rowling wanted to, she could have just written 20 books worth of this. Harry goes back to Hogwarts, something happens, reset. She could have just gone over and over and over and over and over again. Obviously, we now know that she planned everything from the beginning, but I think you wouldn't have been misguided as a parent to maybe think that that's where Harry Potter was going when you read the first 2. If you were a parent showing your child these books, reading the 3rd book, you would have really realised that Harry Potter is much more than this. It's not just a story where everything resets. This is a continued arc told over 7 books. Because Prisoner of Azkaban feels much more like an extension of the first 2, rather than just another adventure. It feels like we're now exploring who Harry is as a character, rather than just getting him to do another quest. This is where you have the difference of a serial and a series. A serial is one long story told in small installments, whereas a series is self-contained stories that feature the same characters. So, for example, something like Friends, The Simpsons, or the Jack Reacher books are series. Only now and again do you get episodes like Who Shot Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, where they directly carry on. Usually each episode is self-contained, but it has the same characters, and they might mention things that have happened in the past, but the stories are not affected too much by what's happened before. A serial is much more common to what we see in terms of the drama side of series, something like Breaking Bad, or Harry Potter, for example. Usually stories aren't just one or the other completely, because obviously in Harry Potter they are separate stories that do have beginning, middles and ends. Harry Potter, especially in the books, is much more a serial than it is a series, because it is one long story told over 7 chapters almost. Another reason in The Prisoner of Azkaban that Harry Potter was going to be more than just your classic children's book series was the tonal shift. This was way more dramatic in the films when Quaron took over, and the tonal shift was literally like that. The way the films looked completely changed, and it was very obvious that the films were going for a much darker, more teenagery tone. What J.K. Rowling did in the books was a slow progression into darker, more adult themes. But there is a definite difference in The Prisoner of Azkaban compared to the first 2. Dementors are a really dark addition to the Harry Potter world, a symbol of depression. But also, there is the fact that the relationships now become more fractured. Ron and Hermione in the book fall out for almost the whole thing. Harry has issues with going to Hogsmeade. In the school side of things in The Prisoner of Azkaban, it does feel like they're getting older as well. It's a fitting book for things to get noticeably darker for, because it's the first book where Harry's a teenager. It's the first time that the books have a really bittersweet ending. Although they do stop Sirius being kissed, Pettigrew does escape and Sirius remains a wanted man. After this book, every ending in the Harry Potter series is actually bittersweet. In the Goblet of Fire, Harry comes back, but Voldemort has returned.
He's back! He's back!
And Cedric dies. Not only that, Barty Crouch Jr. also gets kissed, meaning that he can't testify, which means the Ministry don't get proof of Voldemort's return, leading into the Order of the Phoenix. In the Order of the Phoenix, they stop Voldemort getting the prophecy, but Sirius dies and Harry pretty much becomes completely depressed for the rest of the book. I mean, the whole book is really depressing. It's literally Harry just going around being depressed. In Half-Blood Prince, obviously Dumbledore dies, and not only that, the Horcrux that they got out of the lake turns out to be a fake. And in the Deathly Hallows, yes, Harry wins and Voldemort dies, but every single person dies. Rip Colin Creevey. And that was a trend set by The Prisoner of Azkaban. And I think that Harry Potter would not have gained its success if it hadn't have been an overarching story in the way it is. If J.K. Rowling had just decided to do book after book after book of random magical adventure, it wouldn't have had its staying power. And I think that The Prisoner of Azkaban turned Harry Potter into what could have been a forgettable children's series into an absolute worldwide phenomenon. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like The Prisoner of Azkaban as a book? What's your favourite Harry Potter book? Or do you not really give a